All right. So I'm very excited to talk today about the new rankings that we have put out on this website, sylph.gg/league/great. I'll be sure to link that in the comments, of course. But yeah, so this data actually is contributed in part by me. So I'm very excited to offer this resource up and to give a little explanation as to what these mean. So yeah, we got a team here, Deoxys Defense as the lead, and then the other two Mons, Mantine and Altaria. The order of these do not matter. And that is explained here and here and here. Lots of places. And so if you click on them, you can see the move set that we've simulated with it, as well as the second move cost and the typings here. And so then we can expand this by lead. So there's Deoxys, Mantine, Tropius. And we can expand it even by second mons if they rank high enough. So that is very cool. We've got two numbers here that we're sorting by, the matchup win rate and health score. So the matchup win rate is the more self-explanatory of the two, and what this sheet is sorted by. That is the percentage of teams that we've simulated that this team wins against. So this simulation is all of the teams composed of the top 100 ranked open meta Pokemon on PvPoke. And so this is a lot of teams that they're up against, and Deoxys Defense, Mantine, and Altaria win against 81.4% of those. Another way to think about that is if you use Deoxys Defense, Mantine, and Altaria with those movesets against a randomly selected team, evenly weighting all of the teams, you have an 81.4% chance of winning. The other one is a little more complicated. That basically is the same concept, but we're weighting it for how soundly win it is. So did you win by a little, or did you win by a lot, or did you lose by a little, or did you lose by a lot? And so that's based on the HP there according to this formula, which is included on this website, of course, and that's why we call it the health score, because it is based on the HP. There are some assumptions within this model. So we're only using the one move set. Each Pokemon gets one shield. That does mean that there are 3 shields in these simulations, but shielding is dependent upon information about your opponent's team. So you need a really clever approximation to factor that in perfectly. We're also not switching, also dependent upon your opponent's team. And then decisions are made so that they match the PvPoke algorithm. Basically what that boils down to is I'm taking individual Pokemon versus Pokemon rankings and using them in the algorithm. The order of the second and third mon doesn't matter, but the lead does. That I actually think is very representative of PvP battle. I haven't seen anything that would suggest otherwise. But yeah, it's still included here. Each team is weighted equally, so while you may not see a team that's like Munchlax, Mantine, Altaria, it's still weighted the same as perhaps the best team, Deoxys Defense, Mantine, Altaria. And yeah, it only has one move set. Yeah. A couple of other things on this website before we move on to how this model works in more detail. We've got resources here, which I think are fabulous, and the basics of PvP, wonderful articles here. And then, of course, these rankings exist for Ultra League and Master League. Though currently only the Great League goes up to 100 mons. I think Ultra and Master are in 60. Yeah, but these simulations are, as stated, ever improving. And so I'm really hoping to be able to share updates of how this model changes over time on my channel. But for now, let's go into what it means. Yeah, so we read in this CSV that is from PvPoke. That is a matrix battle of the top 100 Pokemon at their maximum stat product and default level cap, and with baiting shields for low energy moves. And then we add in some colors here, a team matrix, so that basically allows me to construct a list of all of the possible teams, which is almost 500,000 teams, so scaling up quite rapidly. That's 100 times 99 times 98. And then we create a giant array that stores all of that. Assumptions, I already talked about that. I think the wording on the official website is much better than what I have here. We've got our approximation and then a couple of for loops that run that through every home team versus every away team. And that takes a sizable amount of time. That is over an hour, but not 2 hours. So it's not terrible in terms of computation time, but it's not instantaneous. And then our team array here, which you may notice is all zeros on the left bottom half. So yeah, the computation is this many computations, or yeah, this many computations, and that the x-axis here is the number of Pokemon that I include in the model, and the y-axis here is the number of computations. So this thing calculates a lot of team battles. The memory, unfortunately, is not optimized in the same way. Those zeros still count in memory for right now. From 1 to 110, just a little buffer so we can see the full scale here. Yeah, so the memory, and this is now rescaled into gigabytes, goes into some 235 gigabytes, which is quite a bit, and that just keeps going. So my initial runs were at 30, and then some later ones were at 45 and 55. This is sizably much larger than any of those, and that in part is due to the openness of the Great League meta. I wanted to include as many meta-relevant Pokemon as I could in the model because of how open the open meta is. So yeah, then I just construct some summary stats that just has the win percentage and then the average score, which then becomes the health score, and then I read in my movesets and mon names, so that way I can put them into this table, which unfortunately doesn't show the mon 3 column here, but it does exist, and then I output that, and that becomes this. So yeah, that's an introduction to this new resource. I hope you like the resource. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, any suggestions for the future, and any questions you have about how this works.